By now, you've probably heard of Claude Cowork. If you're still not sure what it actually does, or how to use it in a real business context that saves you hours every day, you're going to know how to do that by the end of this video. And on the off chance that you've never heard of Claude Cowork and are wondering what it is, here's a quick version. Claude Cowork is basically Claude Code with a UI. Instead of sitting in the chat manually triggering things, Cowork lets you schedule tasks that run on their own, use tools like Canva on your behalf, and report back what they've actually done. Think of it as giving Claude an actual job, or even a recurring role, not just one-off responses. The use case that we're looking at today is automating social media generation and posting. Most people building social media automation today run into the same problem. The content gets created, but it's generic, or maybe gets you 80% there, but you can't easily edit it. And by the time you spend 20 minutes prompting and reprompting Nano Banana, you're thinking, I might as well have done this myself from scratch. So today we're going to fix that. We're going to build a workflow where Claude Cowork connects directly to Canva. It creates your carousel posts or any of the design work on schedule on autopilot. Then it sends those designs through n8n, where you get a message on Telegram, Slack, or WhatsApp asking for your approval before anything goes live. If you like it, you can approve it on Telegram and you'll post. If you don't, you jump into Canva, make your edits, and reapprove. No coding, no rerunning the whole thing from scratch. The reason this beats a pure n8n or hands-off AI automation is the editing layer. When you generate images through standard automation, you're stuck with what comes out. Canva gives you a real design interface for you to do minor edits like move text, swap colors, and change slides, and stays connected to the rest of the workflow. You get the speed of automation without giving up control. Before we jump in, if you find this kind of content useful to you, hit that like and subscribe button. It really helps a lot. Now let's dive right in. So to build this workflow, you need 4 things: a Claude Pro subscription, Canva, n8n, and Blotato. And I'm also going to share my free Claude Canva skills down in the description below that makes this whole thing work together. So the very first thing you want to do is you want to make sure that you have the Claude Pro subscription, because that's the subscription that's going to give you access to Claude Cowork. And the second thing you might want to check is to have Claude Desktop. So if you don't already have Claude Desktop installed, what you want to do is just go over to claude.com/download and just download it according to your system. And assuming that you already have a Claude Pro subscription, you should be able to see Cowork as part of the tab together with code right over here. So as you toggle over to Cowork, the very first thing that you want to do is to make sure that you have Canva as well as n8n MCP connected. So what you can do is hit this plus button right here on the chat box and go over to connect this. As you can see, you've got a couple of things already set up over here, but I'm not connected to Canva just yet. So what you want to do is hit Manage Connectors. And from over here, you might see the Canva as part of the option already. But if you don't see that, what you want to do is hit that plus button here, browse connectors, and just type in Canva. And you'll be able to see Canva as one of the connectors available here. All right, so I'm going to hit connect. And assuming that you already have a Canva account, and if you don't, just go over to canva.com, create an account. And here you're just going to be prompted to let Claude have access to your Canva. And you want to hit allow. And there you go. As simple as that, authorization is successful. So now Claude has access to your Canva account. So once you do that, you can check again on the connectors and you'll see that Canva is part of the apps that has been added onto your Claude Cowork instance. Now for the n8n MCP part, I've done a previous video on how you can get that connected to your Claude Desktop. So I'll link that right up here and in the description down below, so you can check that out. But once you have those two connected, what you want to do is actually head over to n8n. And in your n8n instance, we're going to create a workflow like this. Right, so this is essentially the second part of the workflow after Claude Cowork has created the Instagram carousel images on Canva. So this is just trying to get it posted automatically to your social media platforms like Instagram, TikTok, whatnot, and also having the human-in-the-loop approval through Telegram right here. So don't worry about the workflow. I will be sharing the workflow template down in the link description below. But it's a simple workflow. Basically, it expects an input from Claude Cowork in the format of post webhook. And the input would be the Canva links to those images. And essentially, it's going to upload that to Blotato, which is our auto social media posting tool. And uploading it doesn't mean that it's uploaded to Instagram just yet. It is just uploading to a database that Blotato has. The reason why we're doing that is because these social media platforms are very restrictive in terms of where this image URLs are hosted. So, which is why we need to take the one step of uploading it to Blotato database. And then the aggregate node is just to combine all 5 carousel images into one. And then message model. Essentially, this is a caption generator. And so this generates the captions for your Instagram posts, and then it sends both the caption and the images to the Telegram node, and you get the approval message or request for approval message. If it's approved, it's going to go and create the post. And if it's false, it's going to come back and tell you to go into Canva and edit it. And so once you've downloaded this workflow, what you want to do is take note of the workflow link right here and just copy that before going back to your Claude Cowork instance. So going back into your Cowork instance, what you want to do is also to customize or include the Canva skills as part of the skills repository that your Claude Cowork has. So if you hit on customize, this is where all the skills files live. So skills are basically blueprints or guidebook, or you can think of it like a recipe book for Claude to follow, right? So we're telling it, if we are asking you to create images on Canva, these are the steps that you should follow. These are the things that you should watch out for, the best practices and stuff like that. So that is what skill is. It is a markdown file. So again, I will link my skills file in the description down below. So what you can do is actually, once you download that, is to hit this plus button over here and essentially upload a skill and drag and drop the skills MD file into here, and you should have the skills file downloaded. And there's nothing else that you need to do to activate the skills. Claude itself is trained to identify whether or not it should activate the skills. So once you've done that, you can actually start asking it to create 5 images for carousel posts and stuff like that. But you typically want it to be more specific or comprehensive in your task description. So what I did was actually I went to Claude Chat before this just to refine the task description. So it came out with all of this. You're creating a 5-slide Instagram carousel for SoulFit. So SoulFit is the random business that I picked here in Bangkok. It's a Pilates studio. So the website looks like this. I don't know a lot about the business, and I'm not sure if Claude would do a good job for this. But in any case, I just wanted to show you guys how the entire workflow comes together. So I'm giving it the website, first visit and extract brand colors, visual style, etc. I want to make sure that anything that it creates is in the style of the brand. And of course, I'm going to share a generic version of this prompt down in the description link down below. But essentially, it's telling it, step 1, create the images and then push it to this particular n8n workflow. So I actually posted the n8n workflow link right here. And I also specified the payload to the webhook. So these are basically the format I'm asking Claude to push into the webhook, which is the Canva export URL and edit URL. So the export URL is essentially the downloadable URL of the image, and edit URL is the link where you can go into Canva and actually edit the images. So I'm going to hit let's go, and it's going to think about it, plan it, and it's going to line up the progress here on the right-hand side bar. You'll see a little bit later as well, just to show you the steps that it's taking, right? And so you can see here, it's activating the Canva IG carousel skills, which is correct. So it's working as expected. So now it's created the step-by-step progress here. It might take 2 minutes or 3 minutes. So it's moving along, and it's gotten the primary color, secondary color, text, styles of accent. So it's getting the brand essence that is procured from the website. Now there's a slide plan. This is the cover and hook, some visual direction over here. So just telling you what the plan is in terms of creating it, and now it's generating the designs on Canva, right? So it's hitting a couple of issues here, but it normally tries to resolve it on its own. So just give it a couple minutes to work through that. Sometimes there's a pop-up asking for a permission. So in these cases, you want to hit always allow so that I could go on and do what it needs to do. So here you can actually see it working through the slides. But again, I did not give it any context to the business. If I were the business owner, or if I'm working with the business, I would generally have the brand guidelines, all the typography and all that stuff, being able to just give a lot more context for Claude Cowork, and therefore be able to do a better job at the end of it. So as Claude Cowork finish up on the actual processing here, what I want to point out is if you go to the workflow on n8n, just make sure that you hit publish so that it's an active workflow, because it's going to push the post request to this webhook. And the way it's doing that is actually through the Claude n8n MCP and not just the typical post webhook push, right? So just to keep in mind, you want to hit publish, make sure that it's up and running before you run the task. Okay, so Claude's completed the process. It's created the slides. But because we want this part to be fully automated, we probably won't want to come in here and check it. And here it already pushed it to this particular n8n workflow that we ask it to, which will then push the approval message to Telegram. So let's check out our Telegram chat with the bot to see if the approval message actually went through. Okay, so in the Telegram chat with the bot, and for those of you who are not sure how to set up the Telegram connection with n8n, it's pretty easy and straightforward. And I've done a video on a step-by-step guide on how to do that. So I'll link that right up here and down in the description below as well. As you can see, there are the image links as well as the IG caption over here. So let's check out the image link here. So this is one of the images that's been generated. It's talking about why Pilates is different, stuff like that. But as you can see, I don't quite like the font, but maybe this is the font typography that was in the website, not too sure. But you see that the font placing, it's a little bit off, right? So you might want to do something about this, maybe pull it out or something like that. And it's pretty hard to read as well with the background being so vivid. So what we want to do is hit transparency, maybe move it down to 55. All right, there we go. So it's a lot easier to read now. So yes, just small edits like that is a lot easier if you can jump into Canva and be able to edit it. Instead of, if you're generating this on nanobanana, all you can do is actually tell nanobanana to do these changes, which is okay, but the back and forth typically takes a long time, but also sometimes it's just that one, little minor edit that you want to do. So if you were to jump into Canva here to edit it, what you can do is once you've done editing it, you actually can hit share. And here on Canva, you can hit on Instagram. And once you connected this to your Instagram page, you can publish it as a carousel directly from Canva. So you don't actually need AI to even do that, right? So why do we need the Telegram part? Well, the Telegram part is really for when everything is perfect. Maybe you've trained it really well, give it a lot of context so that Claude Cowork can actually create something that is completely perfect. And therefore, you would just hit approve. And once you hit approve, if you go back to your n8n workflow, it's going to go ahead and go into the true branch and go over to Blotato and create posts on your Instagram channel, basically as a carousel post. If it was a false, it will fall into this Telegram message, which will essentially just say, hey, you might want to go back to your Cowork instance. If it's generating an image that doesn't make sense and stuff like that, you can actually tell Cowork to rework that, right? But if it's just small minor edits, then you might want to go over to Canva, open up the file, and basically just do the changes before posting it directly, right? So that's how you would make sure that you have full control with automation. So since on the n8n workflow, this has been approved, it goes to create post in this case. And if you go to my Instagram channel, it actually posts this particular carousel here as a carousel. So there are 5 slides. Again, I didn't do any editing before, and the caption goes through, but again, some of the images are not correct. But I just wanted to run the entire workflow to show you guys how it can all work together without any intervention if you choose to approve on Telegram, right? But of course, if you want to do any edits, go back to either your Cowork instance or your Canva dashboard before posting it onto Instagram. And for those of you who've not heard of Blotato, it is an auto scheduling tool that works very well with n8n. So what you want to do is head over to blotato.com, sign up or log in and create your account. And once you're on Blotato, you can go over to settings and essentially connect any of your social media channels that you want to connect to Blotato over here. And I've covered this extensively, like I said, in my previous videos. So I'm going to link it right up here and down in the description below on how to get everything set up and connected. But if you're interested in taking Blotato out for a spin, you can use my coupon code MARK20 for 20% off for your Blotato subscription. And yeah, I'll link everything down below. And I use Blotato in a lot of my workflows, and it's been helpful in making things convenient in terms of posting social media content on multiple channels. So last but not least, what you want to do now is to make sure that it is on recurring schedule, because you don't want to come back in here and prompt Cowork every single time. So you may ask Cowork to say, hey, can you schedule this task every day at 9 a.m., right? So there it's going to ask you for permission to schedule it. So you want to go ahead and hit schedule. So there you go. You're actually done creating the task, the recurring task that will run automatically every day at 9 a.m. And it's just telling you what it's going to do, creating the 5 Canva designs and then sending it to the n8n workflow. And what you can do is actually, if you hit the schedule section here on the sidebar, you can see that, these are the tasks that has been scheduled. So I have an earlier task that, I've hit pause on, but here you can see that this is active for every day at 9 a.m. Generate daily SoulFit Pilates Instagram carousel and send it to n8n. So hopefully workflows like these are helpful for your business or, the clients that you're working with, or maybe just the company that you're working for, right? And that's it. That's an easy way to set everything up. Again, I'll link all the resources that I've mentioned here down in the description below. This particular workflow I find super beneficial because of the editing layer on Canva. So that personally to me is what works, because I'm particular about brand alignment, making sure that the content that we're putting out does not look like it's AI generated, but actually something that's been curated and has gone through a human review before being pushed out. So of course, there's a lot more you could do with Claude Cowork other than just the social media part. It could take away a lot of manual traditional business processes and automate that for you. So if you want to see any other workflows that involves Claude Cowork or n8n or any other tools that you see out there, please let me know down in the comments below. Of course, if you find contents like these useful, please consider subscribing, and I'll see you in the next one.